Yeah, I think one of the challenges that men have is they want to connect. They really do want to connect with their kids. But either they're not sure how to connect, right? Because they know what they like, but when their kid likes something different, they're not sure how to bridge that gap.
All right, what's up? I am excited to come again. Welcome to A Father's Heart podcast, man. You know, my brother Cole is out presenting tonight, doing his stuck thizzle, out there impacting lives, man. So tonight we have a special guest, have my main man Jody. Jody, what's cracking, man?
Not much, man. Just been a crazy, busy day and busy week, to be honest. So, but yeah, just trying to juggle the fun of owning a business and navigating, just life. It's just, there's always a curve, and you just gotta, like, I always say, God keeps throwing me curveballs, but I'm still standing in the batter's box.
No,
and at least I'm not rushing the mound.
Ooh, I like it. I haven't heard that one before. So
yeah, I think it's one I came up with. So
see? so cool, man. Hey, Jody, man. Why don't you tell some of the people, who you are? Who you are. What do you do? As it relates to fatherhood, man.
Yeah. So number one, I am a very happily married husband. So my wife is the queen of my life. We've been married 32 and a half years, been together 35 actually. So we've been together a long time. Judy and I had 4 kids, and then God spoke to us through a number of really cool experiences, and we ended up adopting 2 kids from Haiti.
Wow.
And so I my wife's Filipino. My kids are very proud to be half Filipino.
Wow.
And I own my own business. I own a small software company called Zenware. And, I've been kind of an entrepreneur ever since I was a little kid, selling donuts, seeds, clay figureheads. I just, so I run my own business, and that has its own ups and downs, as any business owner knows. So it's fun.
No, that's super dope, man. So how do you, you say you run your own business. So how do you find the time to prioritize fatherhood?
Well, you know what? It's got to be your number one priority. And that kind of hit me in the face when my kids were younger. My oldest son, Devin, was probably about 7 or 8. And I was running a sales division for another software company. And every morning I was getting up, I was in the office at 6 a.m. and I was working till 5 or 6, like a lot of us men do. And I'll never forget, I was on a call and had it on speaker, and I'm talking to this guy, and it's about 7:30, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, my wife's at home getting the kids ready, and I'm missing out on an opportunity to have breakfast with my kids and help them get off to school. And the very next day, that 6 a.m. off at work stopped. I did get up at 6 a.m., but that was replaced by prayer and meditation and getting my heart ready for waking my kids up. And then that became the routine from that day on. I woke my kids up every day through until they graduated.
All right. So I'm gonna just say that's not what I experienced. All right. So I think this is a great segue for me to ask the question, in the midst of that, like, where did you learn that, right? Like, where did you learn that was something that your children needed, that, or you thought that they needed that?
Yeah, is directly a direct tribute to my dad. My dad was in the Navy. We were very poor family, and we traveled all across the country. And my dad made it a point, and my mom, that family was everything, right? So Monday night was family home evening. At 6 p.m., the phones got turned off. Back in the day, they just took it off the hook and we played games. We had spiritual thoughts. We sang. We, did fun things, went to the movies sometimes. And that just became a matter of purpose in my family, my dad's family, right? And then every Saturday, my dad was an avid boater, so we would spend time on the lake every Saturday. So we were always very, very centered around family, right? And we knew that. And my dad made us feel that way. And it's like we didn't have a lot of money, but every summer we went on a week-long camping trip. And that just, it was because of my dad's insistence on creating a family environment that rippled across into my own life. And I realized, whoa, I'm not quite measuring up to the example my dad set.
So that that's really important. That's powerful. That that you said a lot of things that you do today is a direct reflection of what you were exposed to by your father. And so many times, man, a lot of people I work with, we talk about our fathers, but a lot of times it's from the aspect of that our father wasn't as a good father. And to hear you talk about how awesome your father was and how you took so many great things from him, that's powerful. And so my question is, I want to be honest. There are some things, and there may be a bias, and so that's why I like to deal with tough questions and tough conversations. From an outsider, as a black male, prior to me working with men, my perception was that white families teach stuff differently than black families. And so from an outsider, I was looking at it as white men are involved. They are showing up and teaching their children about finances. They're positioning them to have a successful career and future and pensions and, just investments and all of that type of stuff. They just leave it to Beaver, like the Cleavers. Like that is the perception, from a black man, growing up. That was my perception of what white families were, and had the different perception what I thought black families were. So my question to you is, that the typical white experience of what I just spoke of?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I would have to say in my circle that was very prevalent, right? My dad's best friend, John Myers, they had 13 kids, very involved. I mean, he kind of worked them to death. I mean, it's like that's a completely different story. But there was and the MacArthurs, they were very family centric, right? But I also know that there were a lot of young boys in my circle growing up that their dad wasn't home, or he was abusive, or he was over dominating. It's like, dude, they couldn't even, breathe in their own house. They were afraid that he was going to lose his temper. He was going to lose his cool. So I think you get both aspects of it. But I think one of the things that I'm realizing the older I get, how blessed I was as a young man. Because I think about an experience that I had with my coworker, Rob Collingwood. And Judy and I were married. My parents came into town. They brought in my siblings, and we went out and spent a day at the lake. And we had such a great time. I invited Rob, and Rob came with us, and he just, man, him and my dad connected, and it was awesome. And then Monday morning, I walked in and he said, Jody, thank you for inviting me. That was awesome. I had such a great time, but your family's messed up. I go, what do you mean? He goes, your family's not normal. He goes, my family, we can't even talk to each other. My dad doesn't talk to my mom. They're divorced. Me and my brother don't get along. And your family likes each other. You enjoy being together and you can feel it. It's not fake. It's not unnatural. And it made me realize that my dad and mom had put something in place so critically important that I had not realized how special it was. And so I think there are a lot of, white families where the dad is in the home, but he's absent. He's either absent because he's working too much, or he's absent because he's not taking an active role in the raising and being part of the kids, or he's absent in that he doesn't give love and encouragement and guidance, right? He's just kind of the role. I bring home the bacon, that's good enough. And so a lot of the friction that I see in white families is centered around three things. One, finances. They're struggling under the weight of not having enough money or too much debt, that's usually the case. There are struggles in the bedroom. And then there are struggles where the women are frustrated because they feel like they're carrying the load of the family. And I don't know, there are a lot of families, white families, that are in one of those three mixes.
Wow. So it sounds like the bias that I had is basically untrue, right? So you're saying that that white families have the same struggles that the black family have.
Yep.
So I guess it comes back to what the media portrays or want to be portrayed, like the story, the narrative that they share, that if it's white is right, this is what we look like. But you're saying if you pull back the covers, is really not that all the time.
It's not.
And then when you pull back the covers of black families, because what I know, I grew up thinking that black men were deadbeats. I grew up thinking that black men weren't involved in all of that type of stuff, right? Because of some of my experiences. But as I gotten older and got into this space and start doing the work, I realized that what was shared with me as a society was lies. Knowing that as our origin of where we come from in Africa, very family oriented, growing up very family oriented, but systematic. The systems has caused a lot of the fragments to take place where black men couldn't be in a home for whatever reason. And a lot of times it was surrounding poverty, right? When you look at the child support system, all of those things, or getting aid, if the male was there, he had to leave the home, right, in order for the family. So it was almost like they were trying to create a narrative, and I believed it. And the crazy thing about it is that the narrative that I believed, I even thought I had to think about myself, like, man, if you think that about black men, what do you think about yourself? Because you're a black man. So I had to really start dissecting and dealing with that and unpacking those lies that was told to me, that black men did not want to be involved, that black men were hypersexual and, hyper aggressive. And growing up, I believed those lies, right? And so I appreciate you being honest and sharing even your perspective, because as a black man growing up, that was the thought, on our side, right? Of what we saw and what we believe, and certain crimes or whatever the case, like, oh, that's a white crime, right? When it comes to
Yeah.
sexual assaults, we say, oh, that's what white people do. Well, when that same stuff was taking place in black families, but we just didn't talk about it. It was just like, hey, what happened here stays here. We don't talk about that. As I've gotten older, I've seen so many people who were assaulted by relatives, but it's the stories and how society paint these pictures where we believe these lies. Where we believe these lies.
One, it's tough, right? Because society paints a picture of division, right? It's like, oh, black families are like this, white families are like this, white fathers are like this, black fathers are like this. When in reality, we're having very similar discussions, right? But we're being pushed in the direction of the narrative that we're hearing. Right. So part of the reason why I started my podcast, Father's Fire, was I kept, especially in the black communities, I kept hearing, man, where is dad? There are so many absent fathers that are abandoning their kids. They're leaving all these trail of kids and baby mamas. Where's the dad? And I'm like, dude, there has to be other men like me who are trying to be good fathers of all nationalities, all colors, all races. And what was interesting was, as I started looking outward, I started finding men like you, men like Cole, that have like-minded hearts, like-minded purpose, right? But unless you're looking for something better, it's easy to fall into what you've been told.
Yep. Yep. And I was talking to, I got a presentation coming up next month. I'm going to be in Indiana, speaking to a company down there, and I was just sharing with the lady who's bringing me in. I was sharing with her. I was like, listen, the narrative, because the area where I'm going is predominantly white, and she was telling me some of the things that the people in her community are struggling with. And I was like, the thing about it is that people look at some of these fathers and they say they don't want to be involved, and they this, they that, they deadbeats, especially just thinking about black men. I say this is the thing. A lot of times these men don't know how to name what they're feeling. They don't know how to name it, right? They don't know how to process it. And I gave her the example. I said, I was at football practice with my son yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And when we was walking off, I saw this little white boy. He was walking off. He was crying, man. And his mom was following him, trying to get him to come to her. 11 years old. And so I went over there and I started talking to him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he didn't want to talk, man. He was upset. And I finally, broke through in that conversation. But this was the thing. I got to the root. I'm like, man, what's going on? And he started crying. And he didn't want to see his teammates see him crying, right? He was more upset that he was crying than what he was going through. And so I got him to a place to where he can name what he was going through. Because a lot of times men don't know how to name or identify what they're dealing with. But when he got to the root of it, he didn't feel like the coaches valued him or liked him because he wasn't as athletic as the other kids. So he felt extremely bad walking away, but he didn't know how to name it. He didn't know how to talk about it. He was just angry and he was just upset. So we got to the root of it. And I was just telling her how so many men don't know how to name it. They don't know how to process it. So here's a man who want to be involved with this woman or his child and is not working out. And she's using whatever leverage she does have to keep him out for whatever reason, right? What happens is even her family begins to talk negative about this guy. So as much as he want to be involved, he's like, listen, this is too much pressure, right? And granted, he should fight, but I'm just saying, sometimes it's too much pressure. So what he does, I leave. And what he says to himself is, I'm going to go where I'm wanted. And I'm going to do this thing over. I'm going to find a whole nother family. I'm going to start a family. I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to find somebody that loves me. And I'm going to love these new children. And so he goes to another family and he does the same thing. And so that's how he wound up having multiple baby mamas, because he's trying to do it the right way. And a lot of times he doesn't have the skill set. He doesn't have all of the resources he need to show up as the father that his children need him to be. But he's just looking for a safe place. He's just looking for a place where he can be respected, a place where he can father and lead. And so that's how we wind up in that place in some instances. But my man doesn't know how to name and speak to what he is feeling and what he's going through.
And that is universal, I think. I think that happens in white families as well as, black families, because in fact, I had this conversation last night. I'm talking to this young man. They're on the verge of divorce, right? And he's struggling to put in words the feelings of his heart, right? And he's trying to articulate these to his wife and say, look, you know what? We need to address these. The challenge is, to your point, you think about a young boy, right? 3 years old. Right? He's running, he trips, he falls down, and he skins a knee. What's the reaction to that boy? Oh, get up. It didn't hurt that bad. Get up, you're man up. Right? A little girl, she falls down. Oh, the whole room runs to her aid. Oh, are you feeling okay? Oh, and we give the girl the opportunity to express, embrace, and feel that emotion without this judgment of, oh, you're not man enough. And the kid's 3 years old. And so now we have these men that have walked from being 3 years old, never recognizing that the feelings that they have are natural, that women feel the same emotions. It's just they've been taught how to talk through them and embrace them, where we've been taught to push them aside.
That's good, man. That's good. Which is real. They, again, man, just to reiterate what you said, is that I just think that we need to do better in helping young boys identify and address what they feeling, right? And name it. My son just started playing football. He's so excited, and he found out very quickly what it means to play tackle football. and it left his tail second guessing, should I continue this or should I retire after 2 practices? You know what I mean? So again, I'm very intentional about having, especially my son, learn how to communicate, and process. And so he came to the conclusion that he want to continue, but he was struggling. He didn't know how to really be honest and address it. And I got him to address and speak about what he was feeling, and fear was in there and the whole nine. But I'm like, yo, we got to confront it. We have to confront it.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that men have is they want to connect. They really do want to connect with their kids. But either they're not sure how to connect, right? Because they know what they like, but when their kid likes something different, they're not sure how to bridge that gap.
Yep.
And we also have women that go, oh, let me handle it. That's, you're not doing that right. And so now the dad's like, oh, wait, I want to connect. I haven't been shown how to connect. And when I do try to connect, I'm not doing it right. So how do I win?
I like it. And I think that brings us to our legit or not legit for the night?
Oh no, here it comes.
I think that's a great segue for our legit or not legit. So, is it legit for mothers to intervene when a father is disciplining or trying to help his son to get back in the game? Right? So, and this is tonight, this one is not about me. You know, a lot of times my legit or not legit be about me. So this one is not about me. But my thing is, if just say the son is whining and he's getting his way, right, with the mom, and the dad addressed that, is it legit or is it not legit for the mom to be able to come and save the son? Does
Not
she have
legit.
a right to do it?
Not legit. The only time it's legit is if he becomes abusive, right? I mean, straight up, a lot of times we as men are just trying to teach our kids how to work through a struggle. And you can't run and save them out of every single struggle. Sometimes they got to push through it. And sometimes mamas don't like their babies to get hurt. So, I mean, here's my recommendation in that scenario. Women and men, if you don't like the way something was handled, talk about it in the bedroom. Talk about it in the bedroom and go, hey, sweetheart, I felt like you were crushing his spirit. Right? You weren't just encouraging him, you were crushing his spirit, sweetheart.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. But do it in the bedroom and then come out as a unified front, because the challenge is so many couples end up with friction in their marriage because that is happening and they're not talking about it, and they're feeling undermined as a parent.
I'm gonna give you one more. Because
Okay.
Cole won't give me an answer straight up. Because Cole will be hemming and hawing. So I'm gonna ask you another one. So since you're gonna be direct in answering, is it legit or not legit for boys to whine?
I think it's legit. I think it is okay, right? Because here's the thing, and it goes back to our early discussion. How is a boy ever going to be able to embrace what he's feeling if he's not allowed the space to experience that feeling and then taught how to work through it? We tend to just go, oh, you're whining, you big baby, man up, instead of going, why are you whining? What's going on? Like you did with that little boy. Why are you crying?
Okay.
Right? But we're not patient with especially our boys, when they have a struggle, an emotional struggle.
So I say not legit. I say not legit. So what I guess what I call whining is I want something to drink, and I'm like, Daddy, would you just give me?
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
So
that's
that's
not
what
legit.
So that's what that's what I consider to be whining. I'm not talking about me crying, him crying, or him showing emotion. I'm talking about Daddy said no. And he's like, well, why can't I? That's what I'm talking about. What
I
I'm
get
saying.
that. I know. I agree with that.
Okay.
But I agree 100% with that. But here's the question.
But you got a butt in there. You got a butt in there.
No, but I do have a butt in here, because here's the question. Why is he whining?
Because he want what he want.
No. He wants dad's attention.
He wants that food, though.
No, he wants dad's attention. You just told him no, and he's viewing it as a rejection.
I'm with you.
So he's whining to get more of your attention.
See, I see it.
So the water becomes a point of friction, but that's not the real issue.
See, I see it different. So what I see is that he does not know how to express what he really wants.
That is true. Agreed. But how's he going to express unless you take the time to go, all right, son, I know you want the water. Then why?
Yeah. I get it. You know what I mean? So that's my point. Kenneth said, depends. I get you. You know what I mean? My thing is, I don't have a problem with him sharing, expressing all of that. I just don't want a whiner.
But
I don't want a whiner.
I don't like whiny boys or girls.
Yes.
Right. I don't. It doesn't go just one way for me.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
As looking back, and especially as we dealt going through, working with a hurt children, I had to really recognize that a lot of their frustration, their emotional outbursts it was really centered around a need for me to build a relationship with them.
Yep.
To build that trust. And I think a lot of times kids are whining because they're actually, while they're whining about TV or going to bed or water, it's a subtle cry for more attention from dad or mom.
I can go with that.
So
I don't want the whining. Jody, listen, I appreciate I appreciate you rocking out with us tonight, man, on the Father's Heart podcast.
Of course, man.
I really, really appreciate it, man. I know your time is valuable. And I know all the listeners, man, have been blessed by what you shared, and those who will watch the replay will definitely appreciate your perspective on, white fathers and black fathers and our experience, man.
I love it.
I appreciate it, brother, man. And you have an incredible night.
Thank you, my brother. I always love visiting with you. You got my mad love, my mad respect, and anything I can do to help the cause of men being great fathers and even better husbands, I'm all in, buddy.
Let's get this work.
Let's get it.